Okay, I'll go ahead and call to order our December regular meeting. It's Tuesday, December 12th, 6 o'clock. Secretary, can you please call roll?
Matt Austin.
Present.
Caitlin Edwards.
Here.
Matt Flaherty.
Here.
David. Nigella.
Dave's online. I heard him.
Okay. Nigella. Nolan.
Here.
Emma.
Here.
John Eldon.
Here.
Jessica Davis. Hannah, me, I'm here. Justin.
Here.
Alex. Heidi. And Dennis.
Here.
Alright.
Okay, the November 14th regular meeting minutes were distributed whenever they were distributed by Sean. I can't see it right now. Are there any edits, additions to the minutes? Seeing none, those are approved, and then the agenda agenda for today was distributed as well. Are there any additions? Okay, I did those out of order. Oh well. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. I don't think there's anyone here, so I will move on.
Do we need to approve the minutes? Or do you not do that anymore?
Did I just not approve the minutes?
Do we not vote on it?
I think the tendency has been to adopt them by unanimous consent. A sort of more formal way to do that would be to say so. No, that's what you were doing. I think
Oh, okay.
That's sort of the practice that's evolved. Basically, sort of simple things like that. You say if there are no objections, the minutes are adopted.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Do I need to go back and redo that? Are there any objections to approving last meeting's minutes? Okay. Okay, and no public comment. Okay, my report. So it's December, the end of the year. So for our working groups, we made like the second half of the year goals. And so now the year is ending. And so I'd like you guys to review your goals and just review your progress or completion of those goals. And I'll put that together in our annual report. If you guys could have that to me by January's meeting, just your update, that would be great. And that's all I have. So move on to staff liaison.
Okay, well, it's good to see everybody. I haven't been here for a while. I was in New Orleans. There's a lot of evening meetings, so it's good to be back. And so it's the end of the year, and I thought it'd be a good time to review all of the climate actions that the city has worked on in 2023 and what we're planning for in 2024. So I sent this out to everybody. Just wanted to let you know what we're investing in. We've invested a lot of funds into renewable energy projects. So we've paid for solar systems at Bloomington Housing Authority's Walnut Woods unit. Through our SEAL program, we have funded solar systems at 10 nonprofits and 10 small businesses. We're providing funding for Habitat for Humanity for the installation of solar systems on 10 low-income houses that were built by Habitat. I am responsible for managing all of the solar sites that are owned by the city. So we have 31 sites, and we have an online platform that we monitor the solar generation for each site. And we're also working to ensure that all the building credits are given by Duke Energy. So that's been a huge project this year that we've undertaken.
What does that mean?
So Duke Energy, we are making sure that all of our solar sites are, that we're getting credits, that we're getting.
Are you talking SRECs or are you talking about credits for unused energy when it's produced, like roller emits?
So some of our sites have older systems where our meter is just slowed according to how much solar energy is produced, whereas other sites, our energy is being monitored and our bill is reduced according to how much is produced. So whether the meter is being slowed or...
Okay, so some of you have net metering and some of you have a meter that's actually counting how much is actually, so you have two different metering systems.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that Duke's actually doing what they said they're going to do.
Right, and so we're making sure that that's being done.
Gotcha.
And so some of our older sites, we need to have new
Meters.
installed.
Yeah.
So So we're working on that. And we're also providing funding for Parks and Rec to install some additional solar sites at 2 of their buildings. Energy efficiency projects, I issued an RFQU for municipal energy efficiency and decarbonization project management services. We're getting ready to go through contract negotiations with a consulting firm. They're going to be performing energy audits on our buildings and recommending energy efficiency projects and or decarbonization projects. So that's going to take a substantial amount of investment in that. So we're going to see part of their contract also is to provide financing options for us. And looking into, there's a funding mechanism called direct pay where the city can be reimbursed for those types of projects and solar installations as well. So for the SEAL program, we funded 7 nonprofits. We funded energy efficiency projects at 7 nonprofits. For our Bloomington Green Home Improvement Program, we provided rebates to 7 homeowners for energy efficiency projects. Fleet equipment and electrification and EV charging stations, we applied for a $7 million charging and fueling infrastructure grant. We're still waiting to hear back whether we're going to receive that grant or not. Fleet electrification, I just purchased 5 electric vehicles for Public Works and the EPC department. We're providing funding for Parks and Rec to purchase electric vehicle charging stations. And we provided funding and technical assistance for Park and Recreation to transition their fossil fueled lawn equipment over to battery powered lawn equipment. At this point, they're almost to the point where their first choice is battery powered equipment. So that's really exciting. Hopewell, just this past Monday, I recommended to the Redevelopment Commission to hire a consulting firm called the Green Engineer. They're out of Boston to go for lead for neighborhood development certification for Hopewell. That means that Hopewell will be developed in the most sustainable way possible. And so that's really exciting. There's only 22 certified sites globally. So that's really exciting for Hopewell. Project 46 is a regional climate alliance between Bloomington, Nashville, and Columbus. This past Monday, we had our second steering committee meeting, and the committee agreed to hire a consulting firm called Fairlawn Strategies. They have extensive regional climate alliance consulting experience, and so that's also very exciting. They're also going to complete a regional greenhouse gas inventory. And so we're still working to launch Project 46. We're going to be having each city sign a memorandum of understanding and a funding agreement. Heritage Fund in Columbus, it's a community foundation. They've agreed to hold the funds for Project 46 and to distribute payment for projects and for consultants. And so we're still doing ongoing outreach to the 3 counties and asking them to join Project 46. This past year, I worked really hard on our climate resilience plan. That's another exciting project that we're working on. We're part of the IU-ERI's 2023 cohort. So there's cities across Indiana that are working on writing a climate resilience plan. I created a task force. We hosted 2 climate resilience community workshops to prioritize climate risks and vulnerabilities, and then to prioritize those strategies to address those climate risks and vulnerabilities. Currently, we're creating implementation teams to look at those strategies and to find out the best way to implement those strategies. We launched an e-bike voucher program, which has been very popular. We have closed the grant portal because we've received more applications than we have funding for currently. I do have funding for this program in 2024, so we'll be opening up that grant portal again probably February, March. So residents can receive up to $1,000 vouchers for those e-bikes. And then, as you know, we launched our Commission on Sustainability's Sustainable Neighborhoods Grant Program, and I believe we have our first grant to review tonight, our first grant application to review tonight. We also completed our greenhouse gas emission inventory, which covered our emissions from 2019 to 2022. We presented that to City Council. We are very pleased to be on the carbon disclosure, the CDP's A-list. We were able to get on the A-list because of all of the climate actions that we're doing and also the work that we're doing towards climate resiliency. So looking forward in 2024, I'll be presenting some climate change education programs in collaboration with the Parks and Rec Department. I think the program guide from Parks and Rec is going to be published on Friday, and you'll see in that program guide the education programs that we're going to be offering next year. So they're going to be about the IRA tax incentives, about climate change and health, and the benefits of battery-powered lawn equipment. We'll also be launching a Beat the Heat program in collaboration with IU Healthy Cities Lab. So it's going to, we're hoping to be a part of the CAP Strategies project where we can collect near-surface temperature data using volunteers to collect that data, creating a heat vulnerability index and a heat management plan, and then we're going to have a Beat the Heat campaign during one of the hottest weeks in the summer. So educating residents about the hazards of extreme heat and how they can protect themselves. Tree canopy expansion project, I have funding to, we're going to try to work on creating cool corridors, so wherever people are walking, that the sidewalks are shaded, that the bus stops are sheltered. And I'm also in collaboration with Bloomington Transit on that as well. And then the last thing there is the Green Workforce Development Project. We're going to engage local partners to develop a workforce training and apprentices program to work on building workforce resiliency. And then Climate Action Plan Dashboard is going to be launched mid-February. So that'll be a great dashboard that shows all the things that we've been doing and how the actions that we're doing are reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. Does anybody have any questions? That list is not even comprehensive. So, yeah.
Yeah, a few follow-ups. Thank you so much, Sean. One was just wondering about timelines with the RFQ you've issued for, or RFP for municipal buildings, energy efficiency, and building decarb projects.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when do you expect to sign somebody, and what timeline would that reporting and recommendations take place on?
So I'm hoping that I'm just waiting for them to be approved as a vendor, and then I can get their contract put together. I'm waiting for their proposal. So we've given them a lot of data. Mm-hmm. They've asked for a whole list of things from us, our utility information, deferred maintenance plans, maintenance logs. So we've given all that to them. And so I'm really hoping that we can get a contract signed by the end of January if they're able to dig through all that information. So they're digging through all that information, our previous energy efficiency audits, and then they're going to be prioritizing which buildings we should target and providing why we should target those buildings. And then they can start on their energy efficiency audits. And then I'm not really sure how long it's going to take for them to really specify which projects we need to start working on. There's a lot of information that they need to gather first.
Okay, no, gotcha. When you finalize that, do you mind sharing, share with this group or with the council committee, just rough timelines, when the project's unfolding, when we expect to have recommendations, just wondering if you see any budget and other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can do that for sure.
I had a question about when you say provided funding for Parks and Rec for the equipment and charging, does that mean ESD provided funding?
Yes, in my budget I have funding for fleet and equipment electrification. And so I divided that between Public Works and Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Uh-huh. But they do all the work of finding the vendors and sourcing the materials that they need. So, yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Could you tell us just a little bit more about Lead for Neighborhood Development, what that entails?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Lead, of course, but just wondering in the neighborhood development context, in particular in the context of Hopewell, knowing both we have limitations as a city in terms of what we can mandate about development, but also knowing the opportunity of Hopewell where we have ownership of the land.
Yeah, I want to provide you with as much information that I can, so. No, that's not what I want. So here's a presentation that I gave to the RDC, and this is about our climate action plan. And so LEED is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. So it's the most widely green building rating system in the world. So there's different certification levels, and we're going to go for LEED Silver. So it measures several key areas. So the impact on the site, water efficiency, energy efficiency, material selection, indoor environmental quality. And so that's the LEED that you're familiar with. We're sitting in a LEED certified building. And so LEED for neighborhood development, it takes the certification concept beyond individual buildings and applies it to the whole neighborhood. And so it's engineered to inspire and help create better, more sustainable, well-connected neighborhoods. Focuses on high levels of walkability, sense of place, and social cohesion. It places a strong emphasis on project location and linkages, as well as the overall neighborhood design. Encourages strategies that conserve resources and protect natural areas. It magnifies the benefits gained from implementing other LEED rating systems when captured at the neighborhood scale by approaching projects through a comprehensive and holistic lens. And so for Hopewell, we're going to ask the developers to achieve LEED Silver on their vertical buildings, and we're not requiring that all buildings be LEED Silver at this time, but to achieve LEED for neighborhood development, at least one building within that boundary has to be LEED Silver. And so we, in 2022, there was a guide-on study that was conducted with city staff. And so they recommended LEED for neighborhood development because it reduces the burden and cost for developers to obtain LEED Silver certification. And so if there's a developer that's building a vertical building and they're within a LEED for neighborhood development site, they automatically get 16 scorecard credits. And so to achieve certification, you have to have so many credits on their scorecard. And so so it was stated that LEED for neighborhood development provides opportunity to create a neighborhood for tomorrow that serves Bloomingtonians for generations to come. And so the green engineer was recommended. They are out of Boston, and they have completed over 300 LEED certified projects, and they do have LEED for neighborhood development project experience. And so here's a picture of one of the developments that they worked on in Boston. So I have another one here. So it's walkability. It's really focusing on a sustainable neighborhood. And then I can pull up the, this is another one that they worked on that has community gardens. I can pull up the LEED for neighborhood scorecard if you want to take a look at that and the different credits that we can go for, if that would be helpful.
Or I don't want to take up too much time.
Okay.
And if you could send that to the group, that'd be great. Or if folks are interested, just to me. But
Okay.
yeah, I think I was just trying to better understand what LEED for, what does that mean and what are they going to be doing? Is it it sounds like some level of assistance and coordination to help our owners rep, RDC, the entity CBCI that's charged with sort of leading that development to help them direct developers into more sustainable building practices and as part of the
Right, and they will be, so our consultant, they won't be doing the work for the developers and designing their buildings and making sure that they're getting their LEED Silver certification. They're going to be looking at their designs and making sure that what they say they're going to do is actually in their designs. So
Gotcha.
some oversight to make sure that it's all going to be approved by the USGBC, US Green Building.
Great, thank you.
So I can send you the scorecard and I can send you this presentation if that's helpful.
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one more.
Yeah, no problem, anytime.
So there was just so much you went through.
There is so much that we do.
One was the new e-bike voucher program, which I know had a high level of interest, and I know from examples in Denver and other cities that these have been really successful in getting uptake. And so I wanted to confirm like what I think we offered different amounts based on income qualification, right? So it was like a $500 standard and a $1,000 for. Can you tell us more about what the income threshold was and how we're approaching verification or attestation, and then also like what uptake was like? But do you know the breakdown between, I guess, applicants and awardees, roughly ballparks of those categories?
Well, I can tell you. So we have $30,000 in for the e-bike project, and so we're going to give 15 $1,000 vouchers to low-income residents, and then 30 to general population. And so I can just pull up our website real quick, and I can show you the application process and how we verify low-income status.
Oh, sure.
So we're not asking for anyone's income information or anything like that. But if they're enrolled in another government program that requires that information, then they're automatically approved. They just have to provide documentation that they're enrolled in these different programs. So.
That's great. That's good enough for me. No need to pull it up.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my question.
It's on our website if you want to take a look
terrific.
at it. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is that all you had?
That's all I have.
Okay, great. Okay, report from council.
Sure. A couple items. One, as I think most folks know, we're changing terms for the council and the mayor, both at the end of the month here. So starting in 2024, January 1, new council and mayor will be sworn in. So we have Mayor Thompson starting, as well as 5 new council members. So the council members that are being retained are myself, Isabel Piedmont-Smith, Kate Rosenberger, and Dave Rallo. And the 5 incoming folks, just for awareness, are Shruti Rana, Isak Asari, Hopi Stasberg, Andy Ruff, and Sydney Zulik, and or Zulich, I forget pronunciation of our last name. But that's exciting. So lots of change happening in the elected offices of city government. Also, City Clerk Nicole Bolden is returning. We'll have early in our process in January, we go through like sort of an organization day where we assign committees, commissions, and things. I think my term as an ex officio member on VCOS actually is a 2-year appointment that spans into next year. So I anticipate still serving in this role next year, but TBD technically. We sort of assess those things on an annual basis. Also, a couple of variety committee things to follow up on. One, just ongoing work of the Special Committee on Council Processes that has been looking at the NOVAC Consulting Group's organizational assessment of boards and commissions. We had a number of meetings this fall, really going deep on all the recommendations in that report. I know I've updated you all a few times. We just had our last meeting late last week to finalize a report, which is in the council's meeting packet for this week, and so I'll give a brief report tomorrow night at council meeting and ask for the council to accept the report, which is essentially where we landed as a committee and where we recommend the council goes with respect to implementation of those recommendations, which will of course have to be coordinated with multiple departments and city staff, the mayoral administration, city clerk's office. The highlights I would say are that we really ended up focusing on process reform. So one is to really develop a central role in the clerk's office as sort of an independent entity within city government to coordinate more deeply the board and commission work across all of city government and between the mayoral administration and the council. So that's kind of a scoping process that will take into 2024 and hopefully be incorporated as part of the 2025 budget. It was actually the 10th and final recommendation of the NOVAC report. Most of their other process-oriented reforms we support with some various caveats around making more uniform and consistent annual reporting requirements, having tracking and follow-up on those types of things, consistency with respect to meetings, agendas posted, websites being maintained, all that. more support for commissioners throughout the process, from the application in terms of the level of communication that's going out, keeping folks updated, to onboarding of new commissioners, to ongoing training and support. Same with staff liaisons, which has just been a little uneven over time. I think there's been some important steps taken over the last year or two for training of staff, but there's a long way to go on all that. And so that's part of what a new role in the clerk's office, or a reformed role in the clerk's office, would help administer. That was kind of the bulk of I would say 2/3 of the report from Novak. The other 3 had to do with combining, recommended combination or elimination of a variety of boards and commissions. One of which, prominently, the first one, was combining BCOS and Environmental Commission. I saw in the meeting minutes from last month that some of you all been meeting with EC to talk about this, which is great. Where we ended up landing on those recommendations, I would say there were a variety of positions among the committee about sort of how open we were to the idea of exploring those 3 different recommendations. I would say there was the strongest willingness to explore further around the Transportation Committee combination, the idea of combining some element of parking, bike ped safety, and traffic, maybe 2, maybe all 3, into a Transportation Commission. There was less support for BCOS and EC being combined, and in any case, we decided with all of them that really any proposal needs to be led by the mayoral administration, because they're just in a much better position to assess the trade-offs and difficulties in terms of staff time, collaboration and coordination across departments, things like that. So recognizing that we have a new administration coming in, we kind of basically are hitting pause on those recommendations, saying that if the comms and administration would like to visit those at some point, we can take those up and look at them. Led by mayor's administration and coordinated with staff liaisons, with commissions, and with council and clerk's office to look at that. So it's not a nail in the coffin on BCOS and EC being combined. I would say there wasn't a lot of favorability expressed by members. It's possible that the incoming administration will review some of those things from the organizational assessment and decide to take a look at them. So this committee's work will continue on. We have code changes we're trying to implement. We have updates to the description and purview of various boards and commissions, which we invited feedback on. And I know y'all have discussed some too and given some feedback on. There will be a variety of kind of implementation-oriented changes across really the next several years. And so this committee will continue to shepherd some of that work on the council side, and also be taking up some other process-oriented reforms that are less directly about boards and commissions, but might have some nexus nevertheless from time to time. I'm happy to take questions at the end too about any of this. Briefly, update from the Climate Action and Resilience Committee, which met yesterday. We've been working for the last, year on what to do about trying to phase out off-road gas-powered equipment in the city, which is one of the city's climate action plan actions. We have looked at the possibility of bans and phase outs towards a ban. Of course, there are inherent difficulties with that about the availability and price of technology, the suitability for landscaping companies, the enforcement mechanisms, all that, not to mention risks of state preemption. Where we kind of landed last night was maybe a 3-prong approach to trying to have like a strong impact. And one was, I think the city's doing very well across most departments. We're pretty rapidly accelerating to transition all off-road equipment to electric wherever feasible. Trying to get maybe broader buy-in across IU and MCCSC and possibly the county to maybe have like a shared commitment around timelines for phasing out certain type of equipment to go all electric, probably over the next 5 to 8 years. So that's one. Second was working with staff to consider the possibility of an opt-in program for residents in the coming year. That might be something akin to the e-bike voucher program, probably smaller scale on the dollar amounts, but some sort of trade-in education program, something like that BCOS could certainly be involved in as well and help get the word out on for folks to make a switch to electric equipment. And then third was the possibility of some seasonal and time-based regulation. So part of this has been kind of like a nuisance related issue that's come up with residents again and again about the use of gas-powered blowers for 12 hours a day on holidays and things like that that have been very annoying for some folks. So the possibility of doing some again, seasonal and hours of the day type of limitations on when very loud gas-powered equipment can be running. So those are the things we're looking at advancing, and we'll talk more to various players about those things as we go forward, including, again, staff on the possibility of a programmatic approach. Final update was just to sort of echo some of what Sean shared about Project 46, which is really in its early stages and kind of getting its legs. I think the input from Farallon Strategies, which has direct experience working with and helping to manage regional climate collaboratives, will be really helpful. This is kind of an emergent space in the climate action world. It makes a lot of sense for a variety of reasons. There are lots of things like watershed management, for instance, in Monroe County that span counties, or just cross-sector and cross jurisdiction learnings that can happen. Again, I think the idea of like shared commitments might have legs. Trying to get other institutions and companies to follow the lead of leaders in this space like Cummins and others is a way to maybe leverage that. Still hoping to get the county on board. I think Lee Jones, the commissioner, did attend our last steering committee meeting, but I think they're sort of waiting and seeing for the time being to see what the actual firm direction of the steering committee, of the project ends up being. I think there may be some working groups in various subject areas that form out of that. Has been one area of discussion, and that we'll probably continue to explore around, for instance, like building efficiency and decarbonization or something, or same thing with transportation. And there might be opportunities for folks to get involved in that way if that's of interest. But I also would welcome feedback from y'all here or in general about what you think a sort of cross-jurisdictional, cross-sectoral climate collaborative like this could best achieve and what it would be best suited to do. Because I think it's an open question about exactly where it's going to go. But it's important that we get that figured out. So those are my updates. Happy to answer questions about any of them or take feedback.
I can say just from the Monroe County Environmental Commission, which Lee is part of, and Peter Iverson, Peter said that the county council has voiced support for joining, and like you said, the commissioners have some hesitancy of signing up for something they don't know what the actual deliverables are. But it's my hope, and I know the Environmental Commission has voiced support for it as well. So I'm hoping that they'll join as well.
Great.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to reports from commissioners, the Just Transition Working Group.
I think we're all here about Heidi. What reports do we have? We have met. We've been meeting with a lot of community partners, both for-profit and nonprofit. We met with Nick from Ecologic.
Yeah,
Nick, right? I think I'm mixing them up. Spencer from Ecologic.
Spencer from Ecologic. Nick is from Indiana Recovery.
Who had great interest in working with us in the future, even kind of outside of his role with Ecologic, and thinking about how the most vulnerable are impacted by climate change and how the Just Transition Working Group and our sustainability steps can, just address that. Things like cleanliness in areas, especially where there's encampments, and all of that going into our waterways. Interesting projects with measuring both solid and liquid waste to figure out how much human waste we could divert out of our waterways if there were some accessible resources there. So it was a really fascinating conversation. We started that conversation because of course, the grant money that's available. We found out we're a little bit late this time around, but we also got to meet with Nick from Beacon, right? And
Indiana Recovery Alliance.
Indiana Recovery Alliance. But he partners with Beacon. Maybe you can speak about Nick since I know him more closely.
Yeah, Nick Voiles is a well-known local community a nonprofit actor, I guess, sort of a leader in community safety. And we brought him in to consult on, we're really trying to explore like where the intersections of environmental and social justice may lie in our community. And we were exploring some possible use of the Because grant funds in that area. And until we were just notified recently that actually the window had already closed. So I guess we're going to be recircling and trying to get a plan together for next year whenever we can apply for those funds. Dennis, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think the main thing was that we did have a proposal that we wanted to submit for today's meeting, but the closing for the proposal was Friday, so it was a bit last minute in terms of understanding when we would be able to use the funds. So we're wondering if, because we want to better prepare for next year, because I feel like it's a little awkward if we're creating partnerships, we're trying to get this funds, but then the funds closed and we're given a bit of a last minute notice. And so I would love to hear more about the funding process for next year so that we're better prepared and know when do we need to submit our proposal by, and then like what is the process to be able to get our proposal approved, I guess, or even on the table.
And also
was
about
thinking-
like the grant funding amounts,
Sure.
you know, like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we just had questions because it's a new, system, obviously a new mechanism. And then from your most recent email, I was understanding that to mean it's a 3-week minimum just to review and potentially get something approved, with you getting time to review and then also the commission having a couple weeks as well. So with how late we got the information, I myself am dealing with long COVID, but that's just a personal concern. And, we are a volunteer community commission. So hopefully next year we'll have plenty of time to kind of get things prepared. I don't think that we did have enough time this year, and I wish we had known some of these details sooner so we could have got some work done. I think the partnerships we made were really valuable, but we did have a little frustration there at the end, especially because we put several hours of work into our proposal draft. So we do have that for next year, but it was just, it's too quick.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a learning experience for all of us. This is a new program, so I'm happy to clarify some things. So I think there was some misunderstanding about how claims work at the city, and so our last day for submitting claims was last Friday. And so, but before we could even submit the claim, you need to submit your application, your proposal to me. I'll review it, make sure that it's appropriate. And then it will need to be presented to BCOS members for them to take a look at. And then for any proposal, whether it's a Sustainable Neighborhoods grant or a working group grant, you'll need to discuss it at one meeting and then vote on it at the next. And so you couldn't have everything voted on and approved at today's meeting. So, yeah.
Can I ask you a question really quickly?
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you so much for informing us about the process, first of all. And I wanted to ask about, so is it that first we needed to submit it to you, then we needed to get approved like by BCOS, and then we submit the claim to the city? Or like where does the city part come into it?
So I'll review it and make sure that it's appropriate to be processed and moved forward to BCOS, and then BCOS will discuss it at one meeting and then vote on it. And then whoever is the designated person in your group who will receive the funds, we would need a W-9 from you and an EFT form. And so that takes a few weeks for the city to enter that data into our system to be processed. And so, so it's quite a
In terms of
I
approving
think
the
maybe we
application,
should
it's a two meeting minimum.
I understand.
Okay.
I think we understand that part. But all of these steps, maybe we should get even just a bulleted list kind of describing that and the time frames for those steps.
Sure.
Because it sounds like even after we're approved here, we still have kind of another holding pattern, which is the W-9 and these other kind of more paperwork parts.
I can do that.
So if we could get maybe just a flow chart for that.
And like she said, I mean, these things were just put out.
Oh yeah,
allowed
it's
to
brand
submit
new,
funds,
and that's
still
why
figuring out.
exactly us too. And so it sounds like as late as the information was given to us, it really was not enough time to work through this bullet list of mechanisms. I mean,
A lot of
so
people are hoping to access the 2023 funds before they went back to general.
exactly,
So that is the question.
exactly, and
For-
that's such a
So
disappointment.
if they would have been able to submit and we could have gone over it this month, are those funds reserved since it was submitted in 2023
It has
for
to be
that?
No.
It has to be approved within 2023?
So
Okay.
one
Okay.
question on that is are they gonna be considered on a rolling basis, or you're gonna say like every 3 months, submit by this deadline for access by April 1st, something like that, and then have another, have like multiple deadlines throughout the year, so you get 3 months.
We don't know how much.
Well, every month is a deadline, every meeting is a deadline, its own deadline.
Well, that's
I
what
mean, someone could apply in
So
January and
that
ask
would
for
be a
10
rolling
grand, and then we
basis.
would have to
Right, that's
say.
what I'm saying, yeah.
So
I know.
for the 2023 funds, I don't think we would have had access to them at all because I don't know if the application was even ready in November.
I know, and that's
Unfortunately.
extremely disappointing because we did talk to EcoLogic,
I
talk
know,
to
but
Yeah,
I'm saying it's back in November.
yeah,
Like you guys
absolutely.
might not have even had the idea of a project yet. So that's just the way the funds became available, is that they weren't actually.
We're waiting on the lawyers to
It didn't actually
prove
become
everything.
available.
Yeah.
It took a long
Yeah.
time.
So I don't think we would have had access to 2023 anyway. Because
Is your question more
Just
towards
seems
like
like that wasn't
having
communicated
multiple
very well.
I
Yeah.
know.
things to compare and pick the ones that we like the best versus
Have some sort of submit by end of January for consideration in February and potential release of funds by end of March, just
It's-
something like
yeah.
that. Otherwise, it's like we're all gonna,
That's-
think the first 10
that
are
is
great
anyway.
and there goes the money. I don't know, it just might be,
Well,
nice
it's
to have some sort of.
And to that point, also be nice to have guidelines about how much we should ask for, because like to your point, if the first project comes along and, is for 10,000, then that's for the year, right? Or if it's for 5,000,
Maximum, wasn't it?
no.
say it's for 5,000, and then, then that would severely limit the future project. So
Yep.
it would kind of be nice to
Yeah.
have more of a structure.
good.
So
We're
if the
gonna have
grant
to
works,
figure
you
that
don't have to, we wouldn't have to approve it for the full 5,000. We could say we like it, but we can approve for
We'll fund it
2,500.
at this
And
amount.
you funded this amount, and then you
Sure.
have to find other funding
Yeah.
sources if you want the full 5,000.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Well,
fund
that's
for the
gonna be what BCOS has to muddle through next year. Like, do we blow it all in the first 3 months? Or do we wait and then
It'd be nice to have that
accidentally
figured
lose
out
our
ahead of time.
money
That's what I'm saying.
again?
It'd be nice
So,
for us to kind of have a
yeah,
plan for
just
that.
some things to think about. I know this was kind of a
Well, then maybe
just a
we divvy
rollout,
it up
but-
between the different working groups.
sure.
I mean, now seems
Yeah.
like a
This
good
is
time
new
going
business, but
going into a new year where we can say, okay,
can
we have
talk
a
about
12
this in
months.
new business.
What's our calendar? What's our
Mm-hmm.
do we want to create deadlines? Do we want to say we'll consider
Before we all
grants
start
twice
working separately, maybe to discuss ahead in advance, like how many groups think they're going to access.
Maybe-
Maybe we just want to divide
Yeah.
it equally,
maybe some groups don't need funding for their work, really, or vice versa. Maybe other groups need a little bit extra this year because of a specific project.
or something where we're like, bring your proposal ideas to committee. We can talk about it,
So then maybe
consider
we
if
need
it's
a
something, and then
mid-year.
move forward for approval.
Yeah.
Maybe what?
Maybe then we need to approve it mid-year. Like everyone needs to, if you want to propose, we'll review all proposals mid-year. That way we can ensure funding is spent
Mm-hmm.
in the calendar
Yeah,
year.
3 months to work up
Right.
some proposal
Something like
ideas. Come to the committee. We can talk about our priorities.
So yeah, just a thought. Like our working group, for example, when we spoke with AIM, he said a huge thing is when we get free donations, it's nearly disposable items. Gloves that are not waterproof, so they just end up in the gutters. So something you could easily do instantly with just a small bit of money that's not going to roll over to next year, so it's like a spend it or lose it situation, is purchase military grade or just a little bit above that throwaway grade, and now unhoused individuals have something that's not disposable and thus a little bit more sustainable. So since we know people are going to be accessing these resources and are going to need clothes to mitigate the cold weather. So, but again, we didn't have enough weeks to get all through the approval doors, but
It just would.
maybe for next year, since we have a longer running time, we should budget.
Okay.
Think about how to budget that
Yeah.
money. So yeah.
Yes.
Quick point of clarification, with respect to the 2 meeting, hearing it and then voting on it, is that based on the bylaws with respect to resolutions?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty standard in terms of Roberts, but I will note that with unanimous consent, you can consider adoption on the same night something is introduced. That's always possible. If time is of the essence, it requires 2/3 majority to pass instead of a simple majority. That's also noted in the bylaws. So for future reference, resolutions or things like this could be adopted in a single night. Generally not best practice, but if time is of the essence.
Well, I think we
And
did
if
this anyway,
there's
'cause-
unanimity in support, then that's possible.
And you have to have a forum.
Yes. Yeah. Quorum as well.
Okay. Well, that was the just transition.
Yeah, we basically spent the whole time working on that grant application and then found out it was too late.
But we're gonna be prepped for next year.
Yeah, we're already.
I wish we had known about the one night thing because Friday,
No, I understand.
I would have gladly just sat down and like fleshed out the draft because we were close. We were really close. But with the 2 meetings, I was like, let's just save it.
Yeah.
So
How much money was it again?
10,000.
I'm happy to request that that amount gets put back into the 2025 budget. I mean, it's not.
Take notes, Hannah.
So this is my concern, at least I'm happy to. My concern is where we draw lines, I guess,
Yeah.
and systematically applying things. Generally and Mayor Thompson may have an entirely new approach. Generally what has happened under Mayor Hamilton is that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that each department, any unspent money at the end of the year, I think half reverts to the general fund, and we typically have a reversion ordinance of some kind early in the calendar year to appropriate that money for other needs. But departments are sort of incentivized to not overspend, or by getting to keep half of their own reversion money too. And I'm not sure how the inter-department process or intra-department process rather of what that normally looks like, of what to do with any reverted funds. But if we retain half, I mean, maybe the case can be made that BCOS should keep at least half or something for 2025. So just gonna put that out there as an option. I can keep this in mind in the context of any reversion ordinance we hear and the possibility of directing it back to BCOS. Again, my concern and hesitancy in saying so is well, I'm sympathetic to the challenges we just faced with respect to legal hurdles and otherwise to get this implemented. I'm sure there are probably other cases with merit that I don't have visibility into, or in terms of City Hall. But
That's a great idea, though.
yeah,
And I think if only like the argument could just be made that like we weren't actually given time to even present, proposals because of the lawyers and the blah, 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 which is fine. But maybe that's like the argument, right? Is that like we didn't have access to it in the first place. So maybe we could roll over like half of it, like 5,000 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
so this was a new program for 2024 or 2023 rather that was budgeted, and it just because it was new, the amount of time it took
Yeah.
to get the
I just had
get
some
access.
legal ducks in a row, like prevented functionally.
No, and not on you at all.
Okay.
other projects.
No, not saying that on you, but just as as an excuse to, if we could,
Yeah.
that would be cool. Okay, well, good. Love that information. Okay, community outreach.
Updates.
Okay. Waste management.
I don't know.
Well, so we had been and are working on a proposal. I'm waiting on other things, so I was waiting for like when it was going to open up, but I don't even have it completed in the first place. So just meaning to say we have other projects that hopefully we will submit proposals for.
Yes, so we will submit a proposal for 2024
Yes, yeah, we will.
for a compost captain's project.
Yeah.
Great.
I think it would be really good to at some point sit down, or just say like in our January meeting, we'll sit down and just prioritize. So maybe each working group, by March you have a proposal you can talk through, and we can decide. Rather than like whoever races to get that $10,000 proposal in first, it's just going to get weird. So some sort of, if we could just plan to do that
More
maybe
strategically,
next time. Yeah, or say like by February, by March, have your proposal ideas. You still got to carry it to the next step, but at least let's like, it'd be nice to hear what you two guys are working on.
Yeah.
Since you've been working on it independently. So if you happen to come at the same time, request them, it could get really awkward.
So we're not gonna, so the waste management's not gonna request the full 10,000. It's not,
Yeah.
it's for supplies to outfit compost captains with the materials.
Yeah,
they need
I
to
feel like
collect.
we've talked about compost captains a lot.
And,
And
and maybe we say you're not allowed to ask for the full 10,000 until the last quarter of the year, if it has, or remaining funds. If you do want that much, then you have to split it up into 2 requests. One for the first 6 months and one for the second 6 months. So there is money waiting.
There's a lot of seasonal stuff. Yeah, I think something a little more coherent where it's like the general idea in the first two or three meetings a year, the next 2 or 3 meetings to work through the idea. Because a lot of this stuff is time sensitive.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do leaf waste.
Yeah, honestly, my feeling about it, y'all, is let's not overmanage it. I think that I know the process is for us to send the proposal to Sean, but even before we're to that stage, I think in our reports, our commissioner working group reports, we should be saying, hey, this is what we're working towards for our proposal, just so you all are aware, and then let you all know. And then we really, as a commission, it becomes our responsibility to vet those as they come in. So, we can still talk and like have a conversation like, oh, they want the whole $7,000. But I think that dividing, I just think that we don't want to overmanage it because you never know if something could be really effective and be collaborative across multiple working groups and use the whole 10,000. You would
I'm not
hate to
saying-
be limited.
My proposal to overmanage is to discuss it. Like, what is it? What have you guys been discussing? Like, I don't know.
Well, we
So,
just talked about
that's-
it in our report. And I'm not saying you're overmanaging it. I'm just saying let's not overmanage it by saying every
Right, but what
working
I'm
group gets
proposing-
$2,000.
What I'm proposing is like we have a time where it's like, hey, here's our vision for the year.
Sure.
We'll come back in 2 months with the details worked out, so that we can like see it at multiple stages and not just like, hey, here it is, final proposal. You know what I mean?
I think what we're saying is the same thing but in different language.
Okay.
Sounds the same.
I do think, I agree that I think it's a good idea if we set a time aside for all of us to come together and say, this is when we're gonna present our proposal. This is like how much money we're asking for, just, I think from just, and I don't know, like an equity perspective, in other words, because I think like if one of us has an idea, we wanna go in and we wanna get that money, we don't know if something else is gonna come up, and I think all of us should get an opportunity to propose something from our working groups. It doesn't mean that we can't collaborate at the same time, but I do like the idea of setting time aside for sure.
Well, we can do that at a meeting because that's our time set aside. So, well, this is the first step is we've been talking about our compost captain. So forever we've been talking about compost captain. So we have intentions to present a proposal at some point next year. So it's as simple as that, right? So that's what we can do.
And we don't see using, I'm saying on the high end, probably $2,500, but
Yeah.
we're talking 1,000, 2,000, so.
Yeah. We have a couple other things to work out till we can officially present. So but that's the waste management, and we can discuss this further, or not discuss it further. We can just present our ideas as they come up next year. Cool?
Yeah.
Okay, well, now we're going to continue on with this conversation. So we do have a neighborhood grant. So if you could just pass.
I have a question about those before. Do we provide any sort of like mentorship for grant writing, for project development, for anything like that?
Do who?
Do we?
No.
Could we? Should we?
But through who?
I don't know. I mean, if somebody's applying, like most of these neighborhood organizations probably don't have experience writing grants or such. Like, is that something we could consider assisting with?
Well, I don't have the resources. We don't. The commission doesn't really have resources to put that on. That's the point of
The
the
library
grant.
has resources. I think
Yeah.
they've got grant writing.
Okay.
We could point folks to.
What's it?
We could at least point folks to
Okay.
resources.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good point.
Wait, did we have any discussions, not resolutions?
This is a discussion,
This is
not a
a
resolution.
And I did want to say that there was an error in processing this. So the first step is for you to take a look at it
Me to take a look at it?
and send it to me. I think that it was approved in the system before I got a chance to look at it.
Oh,
So, but it's fine, we can look at it.
okay. I just reviewed it today, so. Okay, so we have
And just so everybody's aware, Garden Quest is my sister's nonprofit, so I can answer questions, but I'm not gonna vote on it.
He's abstaining.
I'm abstaining.
Okay, from Garden Quest, thank you for their designated non-profit. Ellie Spear.
Mhm.
So she has 5 households listed here, minimum of 4, so that's good. And so the project,
As there
I
were
don't-
more than just
there
five.
were lots more.
Yeah, there were 10 or 12 that were ready to jump on this.
So the project title is called TerraCycle. They're requesting the full amount. I'll just let you guys read through.
So what are examples of things that are,
TerraCycle, that you can't recycle normally.
yeah,
Taco Bell, you can recycle their sauce packets. Bausch and Lomb,
Plastic
the
containers,
plastic containers.
art supplies.
Art supplies, yeah, any of the wax coated boxes that,
Curtain,
detergent
Pak.
comes in,
Oh.
Tetra Paks. There's 200, maybe almost 300 different products. Basically,
Utilities department use the plants for nitrile and latex gloves.
Ooh.
Like crazy.
Nice.
Sean, is this proposal in the email too?
I'm so sorry, it's not anywhere else. I tried to, I
Yeah, I'm
Didn't-
like,
I can read it out loud for you,
Yeah.
Dennis.
honestly, the sound is really bad, so it's not really gonna help.
Okay.
Do any of you have, can y'all, any of you just email it or something, CC it to them?
would you take questions on this? So the sustainability, in terms of like, can they continue doing this? There's a little bit about expected challenges. So is it like you buy the boxes, send them back, and then you have to buy new ones, or what's the kind of?
Yeah. So there's free, there's supported, and you have to buy it all programs. So part of the idea is to do a pilot with the neighborhood to see, what can we really do with just the neighborhood alone, with the idea of increasing public awareness that these things are actually available, but also then connecting the businesses that are already doing them, but maybe not promoting them as well, that's also available. And that would be the idea that the city would be getting more awareness about these uses of our communities. But yeah, once you fill the box, you send it off, you have to buy a new one.
Yeah.
And so part of the idea, there's 2 times during the year, Earth Day and Black Friday, where they have deeper discounts on those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So that would also be the encouragement is when these funds are dispersed to purchase, you can purchase more at those times. But yeah, there's plenty of businesses that are already in town that have this. There's just not the awareness. There's part doing it for the neighborhood pilot program, but part for the awareness. And there is one, I don't know if she put it in there, there is one city in Iowa that's already considered, or it's already been named a TerraCycle city. And that would be kind of the ultimate goal with reducing waste to landfill, is really diving in and becoming a TerraCycle city.
Dennis, I just emailed you some pictures.
Thank you.
It's not perfect, but I hope you can read it a little bit. Sorry.
What's the what is each box? How big is the box?
There's,
Okay, so basically like
this,
$1,000.
you can have boxes this big.
Yeah.
You can have
A pallet size.
pallet size.
Looks like they're requesting 5 medium-sized boxes and 1 small size. The medium is 11 by 11 by 40, and the small is 11 by 11 by 20.
Where do you find that?
The last page.
Yeah, the math is accurate as well.
Does the cost of the boxes cover the whole service, the recycling service itself and shipping and all that? Is that
Some of the recycling service is people dropping it off at the nonprofit into the boxes in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And then it's just shipping it back. So that's cost of the boxes and the shipping.
Okay.
And then eventually, it says it there or not, but she wants to develop a simple website that shows you where every single business in town is that are already offering these. And TerraCycle has that, but you have to go through each individual product, and if you don't spell it correctly or you don't describe it correctly, then it won't even pop up. So their website is
not very easy.
challenging, not user, challenging at best.
Do you have any sense yet for what those top 3 waste streams would be, or is that survey still yet to be conducted?
Survey is yet to be conducted, but I think she has 12 families of the 15 asked. 12 said that they're down. But I mean, it's anything in your bathroom, laundry room, kitchen, all those products. And you can get boxes where you can do all of it in one, but it's much more expensive, 2.5 times expensive, because then there's a labor on the back end to separate all this stuff.
Sure. Right.
I mean, part of the issue with some of these things is they're not recyclable because they're really like energy and labor intensive to try to take apart, like the wax cardboard and all that kind of stuff like that.
TerraCycle already has buyers on the back end for all these products.
If it were that simple, why are more people not doing it? You know what I mean?
Because you have to pay for the boxes.
I know, but like if buyers want the product, why is it so hard to get them the product? I don't know. It's
because it's not the simple send it to Rumpke, they send it to their MRF, right? They have buyers for all the products that they do, whereas Republic doesn't do the wax coated box.
Yeah,
right.
I get that. Yeah.
So yeah, I've been frustrated with TerraCycle because I've wanted to do something like this for a while, but who's going to spend the money on the boxes?
The economics. If the economics worked out, people would be there already.
Correct. So that's why we're doing a pilot to see, does the amount of waste we're able to take off out of the waste stream per Bloomington's cap, does that make sense?
Right.
And maybe it doesn't to do the paid ones. Maybe it does to market the free ones so that the community as a whole knows that. And then to have a website that can point you to those things and maybe help the city become a TerraCycle community. So we don't know those answers. That's the reason that we're applying for it to pilot it.
I guess my concern is that the waste diversion is going to be 5 times 11 times 11 times 40. It's like, we know how much volume will be diverted. And that's it, and $1,000 spent. Yeah, there's potential, longevity, but I'm thinking like, all the coffee shops that pump out coffee grounds, they've approached us, the campus farm, what it is of a farm to take that. And it's like, well, that's something that could have, much more kind of knock-on effects, whereas this is like, that's exactly the volume that will be displaced.
But it's not one or the other, it's just this one in front of us, right?
Oh, I know, yeah, but I'm just, and if it's a matter of like this or the money goes back to the city, well, then whatever. But
right.
Just thinking in terms of like how far will the $1,000 go? It's like, well, that's the volume right there. Versus something where it's like establishing, like your.
So I agree. We currently collect 3 5-gallon containers of coffee grounds from the hotel right over here.
Yeah.
So.
And there's probably 50 more places in town that would have this.
Yeah, I'm building soil with that stuff right now.
No.
So I completely agree. But once again, the point is, as a pilot, is to figure out, does it make sense? Is that a waste in the future or not?
Yep. That's what a pilot project is. That's what this money is for.
Yeah.
But once the project's done, that's my only issue.
Yeah, and the idea would be hopefully that it would make enough sense that applying for it the next year it would happen, but then there would be more community involvement and more knowledge of the free things, so on and so forth. And we'd be able to buy more boxes because instead of buying them at the wrong time, we buy them on Earth Day with a 30% off. and then that $1,000 is now $1,500 of buying power essentially. What are you gonna ask?
I was just gonna ask, as far as the reporting back to the committee, I know it says the volume and the weight. Maybe this is, it's not explicitly written there, but maybe this is just intuitive. I think maybe it's the date that those boxes fill for the Covenant or neighborhood. And then also understanding, I know you said there were like 15 neighbors who kind of verbalized that they were interested. Is there a mechanism in place for actually, like, when I drop off, I write down my address and then we can figure out how many households actually participated? Because you keep saying pilot.
That'll be part of the survey.
That'll be part of the survey. Okay. I just didn't see. Okay. Great.
And she's in communication with like individuals in each household. So she
That's
knows
amazing.
it's 15.
I guess it's more like, can she come to the commission and present?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
at some point after these boxes fill up, maybe, and talk about through that process. Because, again, you keep using the word pilot, and I know you're not sponsoring this, but since you have some inside information, I think the benefit to the pilot is that information. You know,
and that's the whole point. Is we collect data on all of our other pilots. We want to collect the data because the data is going to either say doesn't make sense or check yes, it does make sense. So 100%, that's part of the
The other thing, and maybe I just didn't look closely enough, is you just ship them off when they're full, right?
Correct.
So, and then once it's shipped off, you need to purchase a brand new box.
Correct.
What's the average to fill or you would just have to figure it out? Okay, so the Terra, that company doesn't really have.
Once again, we don't know
it's hard
how
to
many
measure.
people are going to participate outside of those that have committed when we make it a wider, more well-known thing. It could be 3 months, but it could also be 9 months. But we won't know that until we get the boxes and start filling them up.
Yeah. Are these grants? These are on a reimbursable basis, right? Reimbursement.
So if it's a low-income population that they're serving, they can apply to have the funding up front. But most of them will be reimbursed.
Yeah.
So the pilot is to test. It's using this $1,000 to test this program to see if it makes sense financially for the city to incorporate it into its waste management program. Is that right? So if it makes sense,
that's a possibility.
Where's the money coming from?
That's a possibility, but that's not the end goal. The end goal is to see, does it make sense to do TerraCycle on a larger scale, and does it make sense to do the paid or just the free to get, once again, use the city for the marketing to make this more well known so that more people will go to Taco Bell or go to wherever Bao Shalom has and drop those products off.
I'm just wondering, as far as the pilot goes, like, let's say it's successful, then who is the one who's going to be taking this over and expanding it? Is it Garden Quest? Or is it the city of Bloomington?
Garden Quest will be the lead. That is a possibility.
It's not like promised or like planned. Yeah.
Because I was just thinking.
It's just a neighborhood grant, right? So it's on like a neighborhood basis.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was just wondering if you possibly had spoken with the city's waste management program to see if they might be interested in, incorporating something like this if this pilot is successful. If you'd already done any of that.
We have to have the data first, and then we would approach them. But without concrete data, it's just all what ifs.
But I mean, I'm just saying it might not hurt to reach out to them first to see if they say, oh, well, for whatever reason, we already tried that or whatever. I mean, find out what their ideas and experience.
I think it's a good idea. I think for this, since it's a community grant, it would just be like, any sort of grant, like a grant to put solar on your house or any sort of one-time grant where it's just giving the community, that individual, in this case, a group of individuals, a neighborhood, the opportunity to access a more sustainable waste reduction program. And then it would be on that individual to say, wow, I really did like that. Let me just buy one of these boxes a year. I'll stack my detergent bottles in the garage while I'm waiting on that to fill up or whatever. So that's how I'm seeing the program. Am I in the right one here? Okay. And then as far as future use goes, maybe we could see Garden Quest come back and say, hey, would-be cost sponsor $1,000 every year from their budget to help. And then again, like you said, maybe there are some points where there are sales at TerraCycle and they could get something for a discounted rate.
I think more of the sense I got for like future was like accessing businesses and utilizing like a business's like network.
So you're telling me businesses already have TerraCycle?
Some of them.
Those would be the free.
And so maybe like expanding that network of like.
Okay, I don't see how this would help that though.
No, but it gets the word out there about that this even exists, you know, like I had no idea.
Okay. Okay, so you just mean in a pure just,
But
okay.
I'm just saying
Part of it's for the
what
neighborhood, part of it's for the
maybe
marketing.
is like
Overall,
in
the
the
C
future.
doesn't
Okay.
make sense for the city, so it's a combination.
Sure, I don't, yeah.
When you say businesses have programs, do you mean like I'm on TerraCycle's website. Do you mean like the sponsored ones where it's free to participate because some like regional or national corporate entity is paying?
Yeah, they're trying to close the loop on their products.
Yes, you don't mean local business. Like local businesses with
If they have
sponsored
those,
sites.
if they have those products, fantastic, absolutely. But yeah, it's
But to
typically
be clear,
they're
it's
already
the ones that are sponsoring it,
correct.
their own product. Okay, but yeah, it seems like it's okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Sean,
Based on our experience using them, like
is there any
with all
possible
plus
way
box,
that like if
they're
we
just putting
approve
in-
this
depending on what
tonight,
the product is. but
there's
if
no
you're
way
doing,
the
like,
funds
Hayward
could be
or
used
something,
from
it's gonna take
2023, right? Because the
more than
claims
a year
needed to be made.
households to fill that up. So I think the time frame is I think most of these products with just the community is gonna last a year or more.
Okay.
Depending, yeah.
Yeah.
I would be
So
interested to
they
see.
would just be
I just think that the business part may be separate from this community grants.
Yeah.
Because I could even see, you know, maybe your working group. I did not know I could take my Taco Bell packets back to Taco Bell. I did not know that. But so I just wanted to say, you know, maybe those, I see what you're saying with the marketing, but I think for my comfortability, I'm viewing this as a community grant to help
this is a
to
community
benefit the
grant.
neighborhood.
My
Yeah.
sister always looks. Ellie always.
That's your dreamy. That's
she
your
looks
big
10 years
picture.
down the road, so
Sure,
that's
sure.
a big picture.
I got you.
We've got to start. We've got to start with
I got you. Thank you.
So maybe I shouldn't have talked about the big picture as much.
okay.
But,
This would be, it's a reimbursement. All the things that we're talking about, one person has to pay for those things.
Right.
It's being reimbursed, so
Right.
it's not upfront.
No, yeah. She definitely knows
So
that.
it'd be probably reimbursed in.
She would need
If you hit that $1,000 mark, or is it reimbursed as you spend?
EFT form
oh,
to get it for
Spend up to
2023.
$1,000 whenever you're
Oh,
done. You get approved in
Does she have
January, if it
39?
takes.
I'm assuming she has 99. She's a nonprofit.
Yeah.
We'll reapply annually
you're saying
funding
right now.
Yeah.
coordinate the problems for the neighborhood.
I think also there should be some of these things that I think there's drop-off places in Bloomington already for some of these items.
Right.
So I would prefer the money be spent on things that can't be recycled locally, and then you can maybe have containers for batteries that you can take to the solid waste district or something separate.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is things that currently are not available to be recycled
Right.
in the city. Yeah. I mean, battery. No, we're not doing batteries.
Yeah.
We're not doing stuff that's already easily accessible to be recycled.
So, yeah.
It's things that aren't.
Hey Matt, you were saying like in theory we could possibly pass something tonight, like in one meeting, instead of having it to be read.
That would be the idea with this, is to try and access the 2023 funds.
Yeah.
The same issue. Yeah, that's. Well, are we? Sorry, what part of the agenda is this falling in?
Discussion, it's not res-
Oh, would it? How are we considering a formal adoption, I guess, of this? Like, is it anticipated that there would be a resolution or just a motion and a vote, but we're treating it as a 2 reading?
I think it would be a
Item.
motion and a vote, but it would be a 2 reading, but
You have to have quorum. Do we have quorum?
1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, great.
Oh, and then
Okay, one more thing. Sorry, timeline. They're getting 6 boxes. Are they getting all those 6 boxes up front? Day one, they'll have 6. And do they know what products are going in each of the 6? It's different items. I know you said there's
Yeah,
like
it's different items.
Okay.
based on the
So they'll
survey-
determine
survey of the
their-
neighborhood.
Sure, they'll determine what those items are, but they'll get all of that up front. And then Ellie will come to Sean and say, hey, here are my receipts, I'll get my reimbursement.
Well, the timeline suggests that they're gonna do it in 2 batches. The
That's
first
the
set of
part I needed to
boxes-
understand this better. I was like,
The first set of boxes around Earth Day and then the second set around Black Friday.
Well,
she's saying
first set in March, another in April, and another.
She's saying that that's when it's most optimal to purchase,
Sure.
because then the money would go further.
Could you not buy all of them at?
She could buy them all on Earth Day.
That would make more sense than waiting, because
Because then,
can we approve with recommendation?
but once again, the numbers are based off of the not sale prices. So based on the sale prices,
Right.
that
I don't know,
would
I
be able to
mean-
buy more boxes.
If she knows the number of boxes to get, I don't know, let's just say like, just buy them, get reimbursed, and move forward.
Right,
Wait 4 months for a sale.
right, I agree.
and there's like
And it wouldn't surprise me
a
if they just
maximum amount. that we-
collected products without the boxes
Yeah,
and
there's that, I
then
guess.
dumped them in there to maximize the buying power. I
Hmm.
wouldn't put that past my sister.
As a parliamentary matter, can I clarify where the requirement is coming from that we would have heard this at one meeting and voted at the next? Is that in the program
It's the bylaw.
design?
So it's the resolution, and I
Right,
just assumed that this would be passed by resolution.
got it.
Okay.
So maybe that was just implicit and not
For the timeline.
named, because I'm in the bylaws and I mean, the bylaws
Missed
specify
that
the
page
resolution,
completely.
can only be passed on second reading under normal order of business, but again, by unanimous consent, meaning everybody agrees, you can consider it in one night, requires 2/3 majority to pass.
Not just simple majority.
Right.
Wait.
And it actually specifies at least 2/3 of the, we had 2/3 of the currently filled seats being present and voting. So 2/3 of those of us here. And I'm not even sure that's strictly required, because if we didn't, because this isn't a resolution, it didn't come in the form of a resolution. So I'm not aware of anything else that would prevent us from voting on it in one night, but
Okay. Yeah,
Well, I think maybe circumstances would allow.
Yeah.
Wait, so this is taken away from the funding from the 10,000 from 2023.
Correct.
Correct.
and this is not a working group.
And for the neighborhood grants,
separate pools.
2 different pools of money. Commissioner grants, neighborhood grants.
And which is a total of
$1,000.
So there's 10,000
10,000 here, 10,000 here. Neighborhood
for
grant.
$20,000.
Well,
I thought it was-
separate pools. So 2 different types of grants. $20,000 for in general, but like you can't think of it that way because it's 2 different
2 different pots of money.
2 different pots. So we're just talking about one pot, and it's for the neighborhood grant, and she can only apply for up to $1,000. That's the maximum amount that we can give them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if we don't
Yes.
approve it, it's not clear we'll get the money for next year.
Yeah, and so we're talking about voting tonight so that we can try and use 2023 funds
For the community grant.
for the neighborhood grant. Because otherwise they both they both
Go back to the.
Can we go back to the two pools of money, because that's news to me. I thought it was 10, but there were 2 different streams that could access that.
2 different.
But there are completely 2 different pools.
$10,000 here, $10,000 here.
Okay.
Neighborhood only $1,000, $1,000.
I thought it was just 2
grants.
different streams to access the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That clarifies a lot for me.
Okay.
All right.
Does anyone else have any other concerns, questions that they want to discuss about the application?
I think the only thing that to me doesn't sit right with me is like the way the process was done, because I would have personally liked to have seen the proposal beforehand, at least like yesterday, and I would have liked to have it so that I could read through it and actually see it and think through it whenever we're making like decisions like this, when we're thinking about getting this money. I personally would like that moving forward. Like, it's fine today if we decide to vote, but moving forward, I would like for us to actually follow a process, because it seems like we passed Sean who was supposed to approve the process beforehand. I think that's the only frustration I have about the process right now.
Totally understandable, but that's the point of, that's why it's so important to figure out what do we need to do. So my sister and I were pushing to get this thing in part for, because we wanted the 2023 funds, but also to figure this stuff out so when there are other neighborhoods, it can be a much smoother
Well, and if
process.
there's 2 readings, that's what it's for, right? Normally we would do it, you propose
normally we
it, and
would do
then
it
we
in
vote
2
on it
readings.
the following month.
Yeah.
We're kind of trying to cram everything in for that reason.
Yes, I understand that. I'm just saying, like, moving forward, like, it would be great if we, like, follow
Even
that
just
process.
email
Right, and what I'm saying is we have a
We
process
agree.
moving forward, so.
Normal process would have 2 meetings. I agree that including it in the packet in advance,
Yeah.
even for
Yep.
the first reading, would be ideal.
Yesterday.
But I'm not sure. Yeah, what?
And it all depends on the timing of when those applications are submitted, because I do have a full plate and, depending on when it's submitted, hopefully I'll have time to put it with the agenda,
Yeah.
and email it out and everything. But if it's the same day as the meeting, it's probably not going to happen.
Totally fair.
So Emma, whenever an application is submitted, you'll download it and then you'll let me know that it's been submitted. I'll take a look at it and then it'll be attached to the agenda.
Okay, so I'll be the first one notified if something's submitted.
I feel like I need more information, but
I think SurveyMonkey sent you an email.
I mean, the neighborhood
Okay.
grant program in general.
Okay.
Maybe I
go
missed
over that.
I really think it'd be
just wanted
beneficial to have
this
2 or 3
This year.
deadlines for submission for these. So we're considering more than one. Like right now, it's like this or nothing, so it's
Mhm.
easy.
Yeah.
In the future, if we can say like, here's 3 or 4 to consider, let's, maybe we'll do the top 2 and we'll kick the next 2 to the next meeting. But if it's just like this continually rolling thing where you're evaluating each one individually, again, now it makes sense given the circumstances. But I think if we said like, March 1st to Sean, August 1st, and something like that,
Every 3 months.
and we'll let you know within 2 or 3 months, something. Yeah. I think that would make it a much more rigorous process, and then we're sitting there saying, what's the best one of the options, rather than like, yes, no, one at a time.
Yeah.
Do you want to hold the community members who apply for the neighborhood grants to that like quarterly deadline as
Yes.
well?
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm talking about the neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the same thing might apply for the working group. I think we all could do some preliminary, what are our priorities, what working groups are having active projects, who could easily spend the money, okay, move forward, come back in a month and let us know how it's going. I think we could do more strategic planning that way, but for the neighborhoods, we're gonna hear about it when it hits our desk like this. You know what I mean? And so having multiple things considered at the same time is beneficial.
Generally speaking, like most of the grant programs the city operates that I'm aware of are community development block grants, Jack Hopkins Social Services Fund. They all operate on an annual cycle, like a one application window, usually in the same time period. Like might be worth considering just for like
Like
ease
a
of
one
administration.
deadline, like a
Yeah,
deadline.
exactly.
them all at
Like you
once.
start marketing in March and say August 1st, we're gonna have a deadline for the neighborhood, sustainable.
Given these are smaller, I could see doing 2,
Yeah,
like a spring and a fall or something.
the running into as we're seeing now, the closer you get to the end of the year, the more crammed it gets in terms of actually encumbering
Even
money.
working backwards from that, we want a deadline at like October.
Yeah,
Or at the latest.
Yeah.
Right.
so that's
We'll
obvious. Sorry.
disperse the funds before. Or even just approve the funds,
Yeah.
disperse them, right?
Right, I consider the PO.
Okay.
I'm ready to start voting.
So when we're done with discussion, we would first need a motion to, I'm not sure if this is strictly required because this isn't a resolution, but to err on the side of caution, since there was an assumption that we'd be hearing 2 meetings, the appropriate step would probably be to take a motion to ask whether or not we can consider this for adoption tonight, for approval tonight. And then we have to vote on that. And if everybody agrees that we can vote on it, then it would be a 2/3 majority to pass.
Okay.
So if there's more discussion, we can have it. But if not, I'm happy to make that motion.
I don't think I have many more. My only fear with the once a year, I just don't want to make the grant money harder to access. That's the only thing. And we can decide the quarterly stuff for 2024 down the line. I think that's a separate conversation than this vote, but I just want to say that I really don't want to put any barriers to entry on accessing these funds if at all possible. So, and hopefully we do the marketing so there is competition, but my fear is it's the opposite. We're like, please come take the money. So yeah. I'll put forth a motion to approve this neighborhood.
Okay, we're gonna motion
No.
that we'll do one reading first.
Okay.
So do I hear a motion for one reading to vote on this application?
So-
Application.
I would say I move that we vote final approval of the neighborhood grant on the same night it was introduced.
I'll second. We need a second.
Okay.
This requires unanimous consent, so maybe we can do a voice vote.
Voice vote.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hannah.
Me first.
No, you'll roll call.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, well, that's fine.
I was like, I don't think we've done this before.
So record that Matt motioned and that Justin seconded.
Okay.
We're gonna
The
do it all
first
in one night.
motion.
So a yes means that we'll do it all tonight, not the
Yes.
normal.
Yes. We're not voting on the application itself yet.
And I need to record these
Yes.
yeses. Okay. Matt Austin,
Yes.
Caitlin Edwards,
Yes.
Matt Flaherty,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Nigella,
Yes.
Nolan,
Yes.
Emma,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
me, I'll vote yes. Justin,
Yes.
and then Dennis.
Yes.
Okay. Now, do I hear a second motion?
Motion to vote on,
What are you approving?
we're making a motion to vote on the neighborhood,
You're voting to approve or decline?
we're making a motion to vote to approve the neighborhood grant application in front of us. Is
Okay.
that correct?
Yeah. Second.
Okay. So Matt Austin moves to approve the application. Matt Flaherty seconds. And then we'll hear another voice vote.
This
No.
requires 2/3 majority to pass.
Matt Austin.
Abstain.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm gonna note that. Caitlin,
Approve.
Matt Flaherty,
Approved. Yes.
David,
Approved.
Nigella,
Yes.
Nolan,
Yes.
Emma,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
me, yes. Justin,
Yes.
and Dennis.
Yes.
Okay.
Specific.
Congratulations.
That's
So that's 10 votes. That's majority. So we have approved this neighborhood grant application to utilize 2023 funds.
We have to vote on that too?
No. I'm just stating, I'm just stating that. I'm just stating that.
It's not 2024 yet. We couldn't
Did
be
it. We got
voting
one
on
in.
that.
Okay, so it is approved. I will send Ellie the W-9 and EFT forms that she's going to be required to fill out.
Okay.
And I send it to this Garden Quest email.
Sean, can you also ask her, can you let her know that the committee, if everyone here agrees, I don't want to speak for everyone, would like her to come and talk about the program, maybe, it doesn't even necessarily have to be when it's complete, but at some point just do,
We can,
Kind of
I can let her know.
of course.
Yeah.
But just so that it goes through the proper channels.
Okay. Sure.
One kind
That
of
was
thought
an important part of my vote,
on
is
this.
that we get to hear back.
I was in thinking about how we get more of these in the future. I think a lot of people are not set up to write grants the way your sister is. So like even at the outreach, I imagine 5 households that have an idea and no experience doing grants or anything. I think it would be great if we could provide some kind of mentorship with grant writing and help people think through. Like if you have no experience with grant writing, this looks
All right. I love your idea, but we're gonna push that to the next meeting because meeting ends in 2 minutes.
okay.
And I
That's
don't want to
fine.
carry on it.
Let's carry.
Start a conversation,
Yep,
but
that's
what
fair.
if we can't
It's
finish?
really good.
I'll make it, I'll put it in the notes.
There we go. Perfect. We'll talk about
New
new business next meeting. Okay. Anything like very pressing, short comments? Okay. Otherwise, I will adjourn this meeting.
I second.
Okay. Okay. And our next meeting is January 9th,
Yeah.
2024.
Woohoo.
It says 2020.
Is this your latest meeting? In like 2 minutes.
Yeah, probably. At 6 p.m. I'll see you all then. Happy New Year.
Yay.